So April 25th, 2014 would be a day long remembered for Star Wars fans. It was the day that Disney and Lucasfilm decided to completely scrap the expanded universe of Star Wars material and rebrand it as Legends. So let's talk about that today. Hey there everybody, it's RevKev here. Welcome to the Geek Corner. If you're new to the channel, I would love if you become part of the community. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Disney Lucasfilm decision to scrap the expanded universe. Now, there were decades and decades of material put out about Star Wars in between the original trilogy, before the prequel trilogy came out, and definitely before the sequel trilogy came out. Like, tons of stuff. Novels, comic books, video games, kids novels, magazines, role-playing games. There was so much resources, so much stuff came out. And there's a bit of a debate online on whether or not this stuff actually kept Star Wars alive. And the reality is, it did. And I can speak from experience as kind of older guy with gray hair who's been around for a long time, since the 70s. I remember the dark times. I remember after 1983 when there was Return of the Jedi finish, and yeah, Lucas had kind of always talked about this 9-story arc, but it didn't look like it was ever going to happen. It really didn't look like it was going to be made. So we didn't have a lot to go on with Star Wars back then. And I remember when West End Games came out with the Star Wars role-playing game. That was huge. It was huge stuff that all this new material was coming out, being introduced to new worlds, being introduced to new characters and new stormtrooper types. Some of them were pretty stupid, like the aquatic stormtrooper. Anyways, but it was great to see Star Wars coming back. And then when Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire book came out, everyone read it. Like, everyone that I know read it. Even people who weren't really into reading books picked up that book because Star Wars was back. It was a big, big deal. And so that was really keeping everything going for a long time. The Marvel comic for a long time was still going. When then Star Wars went over to Dark Horse Comics, that really kind of propelled it even more because the quality actually jumped up. When it went from Marvel to Dark Horse, like boom, quality just shot up and it was so much better. Even though I was a fan of the Marvel Star Wars comic, I had almost all of them before I lost them in a basement flood. Video for another time. So it definitely did really help, and it really kept interest in Star Wars going. Even when the Power of the Force action figure line came back out, like, there were no movies coming out when those figures were re-released, but it was really because of the fan base that had been built up because of the expanded universe. And so on April 25th, 2014, when they decided to scrap the expanded universe in order to create a new opportunities for storytellers, I'm going to be honest, I actually thought that was a good decision at the time. I really did. I was excited about the Disney purchase of Lucasfilm. I really was. I was expecting great and glorious things. I was expecting Star Wars to just reach a whole new height, to impact a new generation, to see high quality product being put out. I mean, I'm a Disney guy. I've always enjoyed Disney. I love going to Disney World. I used to go to Disney World every year. I was supposed to go to Disney World this year, but we didn't because of the pandemic that we're in right now. I'm a Disney guy through and through. So for me, when Lucasfilm went under the Disney banner, I was pumped and excited. And I was 100% behind the decision to make the expanded universe Legends. Because there was this promise of this coherent storytelling. They were going to create a new canon, and it gave new opportunities for them to make new movies without being limited by what had been published before. But sadly, that just didn't seem to work out. Even though I loved The Force Awakens when that first came out, saw it a dozen times in the theater, that first couple of months it was in the theater. Ever since then, everything that has come out has really lost momentum for me, because the stories seem to be based more on what looks cool, what's cool, and what's trending. And instead of it being about characters, instead of it being about the story. You see, George Lucas, when he created Star Wars, he always said it wasn't about the spaceships, it wasn't about the special effects, it wasn't about kind of how cool it looked. At its heart, it was always about the characters. And if you didn't have good, compelling, interesting characters, it doesn't matter how cool it looks. It doesn't matter how flashy it is. It doesn't matter how trendy it is. It doesn't matter on what political position it's hitting on. It will not last, because it's got to be driven by the story. It's got to be driven by interesting characters. And for me, that's where they lost me, is the characters that felt like cardboard cutouts. The villains are two-dimensional. The heroes are one-dimensional, even worse. It just never had anything of interest. And so any kind of publication about novels or comics or role-playing games based on one-dimensional and two-dimensional characters, it's not catching any traction. And so even though I wasn't a huge follower of the expanded universe, I took this opportunity to try it out. So over the course of the past year, I basically grew my expanded universe collection from, I might have had about 5 or 6 books currently. Again, lost a whole bunch of stuff in that basement flood that I had about 10 years ago. And now I'm up to about 120 books. I've got about 20 or 30 of the kids' books and about 20 of the graphic novels. And I'm a little obsessed on this now, because it's really good. There's some really great stuff there. Now, I'll admit, there are some novels that are weaker. There are some novels that are not the best written. But even though they're not the best written, and even though they're not the most interesting story, the character development of them is still really good. And so even those bad books are kind of worth picking up and reading because of what they do with the characters. And so even though April 25th, 2014 is kind of seen now as a bad call, a bad decision, for me, the beauty of it is it's allowed me to go back and really enjoy this stuff more and more, and to be excited about Star Wars again. Because for the last few years, I've had no interest. And now I'm incredibly interested in Star Wars again, but this Star Wars right here, the expanded universe. So you might be wanting to get into the expanded universe and you don't know where to begin. I would encourage you to grab this book here. This is the Star Wars, The Essential Reader's Companion. This was put out by Pablo Hidalgo, came out a number of years ago. And in this book, you basically get summaries of every single novel that was put out. All the expanded universe stuff is all described in here. Any period of timeline that you are interested in Star Wars, whether it's the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic stuff, whether it's the Clone Wars, whether it's the Galactic Empire, whether it's the New Jedi Order, whatever interests you have in Star Wars, there's some great stuff for you to read and to enjoy and to really make Star Wars fun again. So this could be a good starting point for you. If you grab a copy of this, and then you can kind of get a summary. Don't read all of it, because then it will be spoiled. But you go through this, find some books that are of interest to you, and a lot of the books are really easy to find in secondhand bookstores, thrift stores, flea markets, secondhand through Amazon. That's how I've been building up my collection. I've only paid full price for one novel, for Kenobi, because I couldn't find it anywhere, and I had to have Kenobi. I had to have it. So that's kind of my journey with the expanded universe right now. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Again, it has really pumped up and got me excited about Star Wars again. And as you can see, I now have about 30 years of reading to do. So if I don't watch a single thing ever put out by Disney Lucasfilm ever again, I'll be okay, because I'm back into Star Wars. But this one. So again, hopefully you found this video helpful. Would love to know what you think about this in the comment section below. And as always, I so appreciate each and every one of you, and for being a part of the community here. And until the next video, God bless you, and we'll see you later.